So, what is the idea of week 10? I'll tell you, when I think about engineering ethics, and I've taught it for a long time, it doesn't mean that I know a huge amount about it, but I've thought about it. And I would say that there's two things about engineering ethics which are special and that have to be dealt with. And number one is the first canon. In my judgment, there is nothing like the first canon in any other field, any other professional field, and there's nothing like it in any other professional code of ethics, no matter what profession we're talking about. The first canon is, in my judgment, unique, a principle that puts the professional in an ethical relationship with the whole world. That is a unique part of engineering ethics. The second thing that I think is special about engineering ethics is the employment situation of most engineers. It may be true that more and more other professionals like lawyers and doctors are becoming employees rather than independent contract or independent practitioners. But what's unique about engineering is that was true of engineers from the start. That is, it's been true from the start of engineering that engineers have typically been the employees of typically middle-sized or large corporations rather than professionals who hang out a shingle and make their living by gaining clients and working for clients. From the beginning, engineers have made their living, not all of them, but most of them, as employees of businesses. That is a very important aspect of engineering ethics, and it's a crucial aspect if we approach, as we have approached, engineering ethics as professional ethics, because it's not clear that you can be both. And what I mean is, it's not clear that you can be a real professional and an employee, a salaried employee of a company. And I think that the key to that is autonomy. That is, how much autonomy does an employee ever have? And the key to that also, I think, is a question of loyalty. It's pretty clear that in the traditional relationship, let's say that as Sighart envisioned it, that the professional relationship was a professional client relationship. And that's where all the duties sprang from. And that's what gave shape to his notion of what professional ethics was really all about. If you are an employee of a company, what is your relationship with the client? Well, there is no client, really. In that classical sense, there is a customer. So that the engineer who is an employee really doesn't have clients. The engineer who is an employee has an employer, and that employer has customers. Whether there's, classically speaking, even a client to speak of is not clear, certainly not in the old-fashioned Sighart sense. The fourth canon is supposed to enshrine the duties that the professional has, the engineer has, with somebody. Problem is that there's no distinction that's made in the fourth canon between an employer and a client. The way that the fourth canon, to be an agent, faithful agent and trustee of their employer or client, is it doesn't work in my mind. That is, it equates two things which are not equal, and that is an employer and a client. They seem to be different things, and so engineers from the beginning have been faced with this ambiguity about just to whom they're supposed to be loyal. Are we supposed to be loyal to the receiver of the services, or are they supposed to be loyal to their employer? And if they're supposed to be loyal to both, then is there a priority? So it always seemed to me that the fourth canon was needed some specification, needed to acknowledge this ambiguity between employer and client. And so several years ago, many years ago now, I don't know where he is now, Thomas Templin, but he needed an honest project. And I gave him this question: does the fourth canon need to be revised? And especially, does it need to be revised because of this ambiguity between employer and client? He wrote just this fantastic paper, I think, about the fourth canon that is incredibly helpful in terms of trying to set these things out. What are the duties and obligations of an employee as opposed to a professional who has got client? How does this affect engineering ethics, and can the relative lack of autonomy on the part of employed engineers be reconciled with their identity as professionals? It is an incredibly important question, and he does a great job of setting things out. Obviously, he has his proposals at the end that the fourth canon needs to be revised, and has certain ideas about how it should be revised, so that these two identities of employee and professional can be reconciled. But that's really for you to decide whether his proposals are right. So, yeah,